All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of Saber Sims build review show here. Sorry, I almost got confused with office hours here, but this is our build review show. We do this show Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And on this show, I bring users' builds up live on stream and give them personalized feedback and advice about things I think that they can do differently in their contest selection, in their builds to ultimately help them build stronger lineups, have better post-contest sims, and hopefully win money sooner, right? That is the goal here. So one person signed up today, is a person that we tried to get to yesterday. Hopefully we'll be able to review them today. But if anybody ever wants to get signed up for this show, all you got to do is drop your DK username in the office hours channel in our Discord server, and I will add you to the queue for a future show here. So we do the show Monday through Friday. We have today and then we have tomorrow. So get your names in before the weekend if you want some advice prior to week 4 NFL, I believe we're on. So with that said, let's get the screen up and let's see what we can see. So let's go back to yesterday. Believe they played MLB. All right, so we got some main slate lineups here. This should be perfect. So one thing, it doesn't look like this user is using the entry editor. So that's one thing that's going to be a little bit challenging for us here. So let me see, because we're not just going to know what lineups, what they played off the bat. All right, so we see some actual lineups and a build for the night slate. So that's good news. So let's focus on this night slate. And let's go to the contest tab and let's just let's see if we can get lucky and figure out what contest they played here. So why don't we start with the big quarter jukebox. I do have their DK username. I don't know what slate they played because they didn't use the entry editor. But let's try something. JDub 357. No. Blackstar. No, not seeing them here. Let's try the flagship. We'll try the mini max. We'll try a couple more here. Okay. Not in the relay throw. Let's try the mini max. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is our person. Blackstar 357 here. So let's just roll with this. I really don't know how much they played, but let's see what we can see here, right? So they entered 2 lineups. So let's say I wanted to review my 2 lineups, right? What I normally do, set entries greater than or equal to the number of entries that you put in. So 2, sort by sim ROI. All right. So top sim ROIs in this contest in like the 5 to 10% range. Now, if we go and look at our person here, negative 35% sim ROI. So there's definitely some room for improvement here. Let's see what we can see. Since they only play 2 lineups, we can just kind of zone in on these 2 and see what they look like. So first one, negative 25% sim ROI. Second one, negative 45%. Now, the first thing I'm noticing here is that these are low stack lineups, right? So 3-2-2. The other one is also a 3-2-2. They do use a lot of salary. Projection is 89.5 and 90. Some ownerships are like pretty similar. So all in all, I think that these lineups just might not be correlated enough for a sport like MLB here. I don't know exactly how you got to 3-2-2s, but we're going to look in the build to see. But off the bat, that's my first thing here, right? Is that I don't think these lineups probably have enough correlation. And we can test that theory a little bit, right? By looking at people who simmed out well with 2 entries or more and seeing what were their most common stack types used, right? So let's take somebody with a little bit more entries. Maybe ST Gray here, right? Has 150 positive 6%, positive 5.5% sim ROI. And let's see like what the most common stacks being used for somebody entering a lot of lineups is. So what we do is we would use the magnifying glass to zone in on their lineups. We would open up the projections tab, and then we would go to stack exposures. So this person played exclusively 5-2s and 5-3s. So this tells me that, hey, stacking 5 players is probably generally a good strategy in this contest. So I think that part of it is that the stacks weren't big enough in the 2 lineups that we were looking at. So this is something I'd be taking away from this, right? Again, using other good players in the same contest, studying them, and then taking things away from that, right? So that's the first thing. I didn't think the sim average score of the lineups was terrible. It was like 90, right? And we're seeing a pretty big range here. So we can try and do this and dig a little bit deeper. So using Saber score, I think that's fine. No rules, no filters. Default minimax salary seems fine. 500 lineups. Blocking Jack Flaherty. Just made that one change to exposures. No other adjustments to team stacks, anything like that. So a couple takeaways from me here is that they're using Saber score, right? So I actually think that having an aggregate metric for average projection is really, really important when using Saber score. So if you want to leave these, that's fine. That's up to you. I would come in here and set one for average projection. Click save. This is going to be a big one. Second thing I would be doing is getting some diversification in my lineups, right? Having all 20 lineups have Fernando Tatis Jr., is pretty aggressive, right? I mean, that is, and maybe you locked them. Maybe you locked them. Is he considered an outfielder? Okay, so you locked him. So that's a personal choice, right? I'm not going to say anything about that. But another example, right? I think this goes back to like a conversation we had on office hours earlier, like looking at pool exposure versus actual exposures. Adolis Garcia, 16% owned, 14.7% pool, kind of even, but having like 5x exposure compared to ownership, it's kind of a lot, right? I would like to see this number be closer to 2 to 3x the player's ownership. So 32 to 48% owned. And then the easiest way to lower these exposures naturally, organically, is going to be to use the min unique option to guarantee diversification between your lineup. So right now you have 8 players different because you're locking Flaherty and Tatis. So you might not be able to get to as high of a unique number, but you can still get some, right? And you still have the ability to get to like, hey, average projection at mean unique of 1 was 91. Average projection at mean unique of 3 is 90.7. That's a very small change for guaranteeing diversification in your lineups. So I would do that. Use this metric to help get some diversification. And then look, Adolis goes from 85% all the way down to 45. Very, very fast, right? So this is a good way of naturally changing those exposures. One other thing I just noticed right now is that you actually locked a pitcher against an opposing batter. I would actually highly recommend against doing this because when Tatis hits a home run, that is very bad for Flaherty. And when Flaherty has a good game, that's generally going to be very bad for Tatis. So do I think it's okay on small slates to allow these things to happen? Yes, maybe in a few lineups, but on average, this is going to be bad because if you pull up, Flaherty here, right? And we scroll down and look at his highest negative correlations. Tatis is one of the highest, negative 0.33, where it's saying when Tatis has a good game, Flaherty does bad. And when Flaherty does good, Tatis does bad, right? So locking negative correlation into your lineups is generally a bad thing to do here. So I would avoid that if possible. It seems like Flaherty had like a pretty below average game, like lower than his 50th percentile. And then Tatis had a good game, right? Like 21 points. This is kind of what you would expect, like one side of the coin or the other. I don't think you have to put on don't use batters against opposing pitchers, but I would not be forcing this into my lineups. So a couple takeaways here, right? Use an average projection, aggregate metric, and balance, and use this to find a good number of min uniques. Don't lock opposing pitchers against opposing batters in your lineups. And the other good thing is I don't know exactly how you're filling your lineups, but use our entry editor, right? Come to the contest tab, upload your entry file, use our download template file from DraftKings hyperlink here to get your entries into SaberSim, and then fill your lineups in SaberSim and then upload them back to the site. Generally works really well here. So those would be some things that I would be looking to change in my process. Also be open to big correlated stacks, right? So sliders look default, but we're seeing like a lot of 3-2-2s. It could be because of the anti-correlation, not 100% sure, but those are some things to look out for as well. So make those immediate changes and circle back with me, and we'll see how your sim ROIs are improving over time here. But all right, that was our only person who signed up for today. As a reminder, we do this show Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. If anybody ever wants to sign up, get some feedback, all you got to do, drop your DK username in the Office Hours channel in Discord. I usually post a message reminding people to sign up in the morning so that we can get some names on the list for the next day. So if anybody wants to sign up for tomorrow's show, it's always appreciated. Happy to help people out, give my thoughts and advice. But until tomorrow, everyone, good luck tonight in Thursday Night Football, and I will see you all then. So until then, take care. Thanks. Bye.